Okay, just before this video gets started, I just want to say that this is the first ever Persona 5 the animation review, because I've looked on YouTube and no one has reviewed the anime since it finished. Like, there are reviews that have happened, or videos talking about it while the anime was airing, but nothing after the anime was complete, so that's cool, I guess. Anyways, let's start the actual video. Persona 5 has, in my opinion at least, one of the greatest stories in a video game. It has great characters, a great plot, and heart. It also has anime cutscenes in it, so it's a no-brainer, right? Just turn it into an anime. They already did that with Persona 4. So they did turn it into an anime, and it sucks donkey pee. This video will mostly be spoiler-free, but there will be some minor spoilers here and there, but they're pretty insignificant. And here's some spoiler-free background information if you have no idea what Persona 5 is. So you play as a guy named Ren Amamiya, and you form the Phantom Thieves, who go into another world called the Metaverse and steal people's hearts. Now they can only steal hearts of corrupted people, and when the heart is stolen, the people change their ways and then they turn themselves into police or something. So let's get into 5 reasons why the Persona 5 anime sucks in no particular order. Number 5. There's literally no focus for the anime. One moment it's an action, next it's a slice of life, then it becomes a mystery. Now, I have no problem with shifting from action to daily life stuff to mystery. That's how the game is, and that should be well represented. But the issue is that it's not well represented. The action scenes are minimal and end quickly. Just any scene is minimal and ends really quickly. When I was halfway through an episode, I felt like it had been a full episode because they cut so many scenes down to be shorter, so more events can take place in a single episode. There was barely enough substance to even connect with characters or plot. I think the biggest reason why this happened was because the entirety of a 115-hour game was condensed into a 26-episode anime and 2 50-minute OVAs. That's just 11 hours and 51 minutes, and even less when you consider the openings and endings. There's just no way you could convert the story of the game into a great anime with that restriction. If I were to plan out the show, I would make it a 24-episode anime, but it would have multiple seasons. Each season would tackle one of the palaces in Persona 5. This would mean the show would have 7 seasons in total. Then the anime would conclude with 3 40-minute long OVAs to cover the final palace. Since you can't exit the final palace in the game, and you can't do side quests along the final palace, that would mean the show wouldn't need a full season to cover the palace. This would give the show around 68 hours to adapt the story. One episode should focus on one thing, like one episode should be a mystery episode, another an action episode, just so the tone can stay consistent. If they're gonna do an episode on infiltrating a palace, stick to that. If one episode focuses on like a character, stick to that character the whole episode. The show right now literally has like multiple plots going on in one episode. It's not like 2 plots happening at the same time between 2 different characters. It's like there's one plot in the first half of the episode, then the second half moves on to a second plot. It just doesn't work. Number 4. This leads right off the last point. All the confidants are not adapted into the anime. Like, all of them are there, but they don't show all of the individual storylines for them. The game only adapts the storylines for Ryuji, Yusuke, Makoto, and Sojiro. So just 3 members of the Phantom Thieves and Ren's Guardian. And even then, the stories are shortened so much that they really lose their impact. The confidant stories don't even have full episodes dedicated to them. Well, except Yusuke, but then they add some stupid detective subplot to it. I should also mention that the confidants that are also Persona users don't unlock their ultimate persona. I thought they might have been saving that up for the final boss, but that's just never touched on. The rest of the confidants are also represented as important when they're barely even interacted with. In the game, all the confidants cheer you on at the end only if you finish their individual stories. But in the anime, they cheer on the Phantom Thieves even if Ren has barely talked to them. It doesn't feel like Ren has earned their trust, they just feel like they're there as Easter eggs. Number 3. The animation is Doggy Doodoo. If you compare a frame from one of the anime game cutscenes with one from the anime adaptation, the anime seems like a bootleg. It feels like something you'd see on a bootleg t-shirt. While the regular scenes do look decent at best, the fight scenes are disgusting. The animation is so wonky and the movements of the characters, especially from the personas, are so unnatural. Attacks are just long-range attacks either from the persona or guns. I'm guessing they did that so they didn't have to animate complex movements from all the characters. Instead, they'll just throw in like a lightning or fire effect and that's it. You get paid 1 rice ball for that. Number 2. Voice acting. Since I'm not Japanese, it is hard for me to tell if Japanese voice acting is good or bad, but Persona 5 the Animation's voice acting sounds awful. A lot of the lines seem to be performed really quickly just to be able to fit in that short amount of time each character has to speak, and in general each performance just seems weak. The strongest performance was probably during this scene when I realized that Ryuji was destined to create time travel. On top of that, I played the game in dub, so I can't connect with the Japanese voices. And if any of you people played the game in sub while your first language is English, you're not cool for listening to voices you can't understand when the English alternative is available and is just as good. Number 1. The Lost Potential. There were some nice story changes, like involving the teacher and Ryuji's side story, ultimately fixing his reputation with her, but after that episode, that change in the story doesn't affect anything else. But if they actually went through with the teacher's storyline, then they could have added the teacher finding out Ryuji was a phantom thief after she found out Ren was one. This isn't really a spoiler, by the way, because all the confidants find out you're a phantom thief after you finish their side stories. Ren should have also stood out too. Since Persona 5 is an RPG, the protagonist doesn't have much dialogue or personality, but the game gave a lot to work with if you were to translate him into a full-on character in the anime. He's strong-willed and even has a sense of humor. Sure, there are some scenes that highlight some of that personality, like when Ryuji says that he and Ren should start referring to each other on a first-name basis, but Ren continued to use his last name. Unfortunately, like in the game, Ren is just listening for most conversations, which doesn't work at all in the show. Some scenes in the anime are also done a lot better than they were done in the game, but that's on very rare occasions. The maid scene, which I won't describe since it's worth going into the scene blind, is done a lot better since anime uses closer camera angles and more emotive facial expressions. The scene is a lot more entertaining. There was even a significant amount of jokes I enjoyed. They were scattered around the anime, but there just wasn't enough for me to think the whole anime was entertaining. But those are all my main points as to why I didn't like Persona 5 the Animation. If you've seen Persona 5 the Animation, do you have any other reasons why you didn't like it? Or maybe you do like it. Why don't you leave a comment telling me why, because that increases view engagement and that's good for the YouTube algorithms. And if you did like this video, leave it a like and subscribe if you want to see more. If you want to interact with me directly, you should also check out my Twitter or Discord. Anyways, like at the end of every video, I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Also, what is this? Topics? Characters? Recommend? What's this all supposed to mean? Are they trying to make the show more deeper than it is? The show doesn't have good character, and it doesn't talk about its topics very well. So the last thing I'm gonna do is recommend it to anyone. Instead, I'd recommend Phantasy Star Online 2 the Animation, since the game will never come out in Europe.